We were out on the patrol one night, and we had one of these encounters when we had to start open fire. And next thing you know, Tony just slumped over. And so we were so busy at the time that we didn't pay too much attention. But after it was all over, we found out that he had been wounded pretty badly. And so we called ahead up the head. We didn't even have a stretcher. They had to come down and bring one down for us. And so we wrapped him up in the stretcher and took him up on top. By the time we got up top, he was already gone.
We go around and we go to the different posts, and you see how many of theirs are gone. We have a plaque down the Legion, which are life members, which is life members in our own Legion post, not life members in the Legion. It's an honorary award. We pick out a guy or two a year. And if you go down there and look at it, we have little black stripes on the departed. And almost all of those guys are gone.
A comical thing. I can remember taking so much fire that we never could, and we're in a firefight, your job is to try to gain fire superiority, try to put out more firepower than the enemy is putting at you. And being the machine gunner, that's my job, is to put out a lot of firepower. The M60 machine gun, which is the weapon I had, was a tremendous weapon. It could put out a lot of firepower. But I found myself in some firefights shooting it this way, over behind the rice paddy tank, shooting this way, because I just couldn't lift my head up, and just trying to gain superiority like that. And it's kind of comical when you think about it now, but it wasn't really funny back then. There were 10 killed from Braintree, and that's quite a bit for a little town. And one that sticks out of my mind is Corporal Jerry Bradley, who was in the Marine Corps. He was received the Silver Star posthumously. He was a 1966 graduate of Braintree High, co-captain of the hockey team. So an athlete, leader type guy, and he was shot and killed in Vietnam. There was also Joe Shea, who was a unique case. Joe was also co-captain of the 1964 Braintree High hockey team, Marine. He was severely wounded in Vietnam early. He was one of the first Marines to be in Vietnam, the original landing force. I think Joe spent over a year there in Vietnam. He was wounded in his last patrol. A bouncing Betty, which is a landmine, he triggered. Bouncing Betty is a anti-personnel mine that it's a pressure device. When you step on it and step off of it, it releases the mine, which is it jumps up. That's why they call it a bouncing Betty, about head high, and explodes this way. It's very devastating, anti-personnel. Usually anyone within 15 meters of that explosion is killed. Joe literally had the top of his head blown off, but he survived somehow. He survived, made it home, spent a lot of time in Chelsea Naval, had to learn how to talk again. Like I said, he was a hockey player. He eventually had to learn how to skate again, and he actually did skate. He had all steel plates in his head. He was a great story, but he eventually passed away from those wounds. So you can make a case that he actually was killed in Vietnam, but he lived for a couple of years, or actually 3 or 4 years after he came home. And pound for pound, he was one of the toughest guys I knew, and you could tell the way he endured those wounds and went on with his life and lived his life the way he wanted to when he came home, until eventually the pressure from the plates and the shrapnel that was still in his head eventually killed him. He knew he wasn't going to live long. He wasn't going to live a long, productive life like most of us could. So that was an interesting case. Ralph Caspol, another Braintree Marine, Vietnam, was a pilot. He actually was JFK's Marine One helicopter pilot. He was a career Marine officer, graduated from Thayer Academy in the mid-50s, I believe, and he was shot down over Laos in a jet. He was a jet pilot also, and he was a casualty. Sergeant Richard McAndrew from Braintree was a legend with the Big Red One, 1st Division, United States Army. He was very dedicated. I talked to people who were with him when he was killed. He was shot and killed. His squad was wiped out as they tried to rescue another squad that was in trouble. So interesting stories about all the Braintree High graduates who were killed. There's 10 of them. I don't want to go into each one of them, but those are the ones that stand out for me.
Definitely, in my own opinion, I definitely say that you should memorialize the people that passed on. I was lucky, one of the lucky ones, and there's a few lucky ones that come out of it. But not only World War II, but the Vietnam veterans and Korean veterans and the ones that are over Iraq right now. People do not realize what torture that they go through and what hell we go through. While we're on ship, it was on watch, 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. That's where you meet, you become great friends because you're with them all the time. But it is, people should at least go to church and pray for them.
Well, my wife and I went down to Washington about 5 or 6 years ago, and we were walking through all the different museums and stuff, and I wanted to go see the National Cemetery, and we went to see the Korean and the different monuments there, and the Korean monuments I think were fairly new at the time, and when we got to it, I just couldn't believe it because I felt like I was back there again. You know, these guys, they with their ponchos on and all the equipment that, you know, I wore at the time when I was there. And as we walked around, we came to this kiosk where there was a computer there, and you could punch in anybody's name. And so I said, gee, I said to my wife, I wonder if Tony's Rosati's name is in there. I would be very surprised if it was. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought that it might not be there. But sure enough, I put the name in, and next thing you know, this printout comes out. And I just couldn't believe my eyes. And I kind of came apart at the time, as I am now. Apologize for that. So anyway, I cherish that piece of paper.
I say a prayer for them every morning. Every morning before I get out of bed. And if it wasn't for them, for the 7,000 that got killed there, I probably wouldn't be here. And I'll tell you, they were all people call them gung-ho, but you were ordered to do something and you did it. I mean, you didn't think about it, you just went and did it, you know.